Good morning. Welcome to 2020 Industry Insights. This is Bob Munn. Your IFPA Board of Directors want to prepare its members for the next generation of community publishing opportunities. That's the heart of 2020. New insights every month from people who know this industry best, your friends and colleagues, innovators, people who face the challenges and generously share the benefit of their experiences with you. Our guest today is one of the young guns who's always bringing something new to the industry. Besides single-handedly introducing many of us to the competitive sport of flip cup, most of us know Justin for the technology that put our print publications online in a format that allows our readers to literally turn the pages. In his work with publishers like you, he's identified some game-changing revenue opportunities, but more importantly, he's found a way to make it realistic for us to pursue them. That's what he's here to talk about today. IFPA and 2020 are proud to welcome Justin Gerena. Now, while Justin and I magically execute the transfer of screen control across hundreds of miles from my computer to his, let me remind you that 2020 is an interactive program. You can drive the content with your questions. Use that dashboard on your screen to send us questions or comments. We'll address as many as we can within our time constraints. You're going to have questions. Justin's here to answer them. If you don't get your question addressed, it'll be because you were too shy to ask it. Now, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. What are the chances of that? But we're all hearing the same terrifying story about local ad dollars being shifted from conventional media like ours and into online. Huge numbers of dollars. But the part that people don't talk about is the fact that very few of those dollars go on to be invested in ad placement. Most of that money is going to projects in the background like building websites. If we're losing dollars to online, and apparently we're not losing money to competitive media, that money is going to people who are building and maintaining the websites. Now, Justin, as a guy who builds websites, what do you think about that?
Well, I have to say, certainly there's been a shift in dollars spent by your typical small business owner, and there has been a struggle to figure out, well, how do we catch those dollars on the digital end of things? And the one consistency, as banner ad sales go up and down, as the technology behind banner ads, whether they're flash or not, daily deal sites, you name it in digital realm, the one consistency is always that every small business owner needs a website. It's something that we're at a unique time right now because we're far enough into the age of the internet where we have the business owners who are saying to themselves, finally for the first time, you know what? I give up. I need a website. Let's do it. Okay, those are who we call the first generation website owners. We also have a second group of people, which are the second gen, and those are people who already have a site. Maybe their site was built out by the kid who just graduated high school, and now he's in college, and he changed his cell phone number, and the business owner can no longer get in touch with him. So those are the two major groups of small business owners that there's a huge opportunity with. The one thing is that all of your advertisers do in fact need a website, and they need a website as much as, if not more than, they need a phone number, a way to show off their products and services, whether it be a store, office, catalog, brochure. But they also need a mobile online presence, as smartphones are taking over the mobile industry. You don't see many people walking around with their razors anymore. Everyone's got the BlackBerry, the iPhone, the Android, etc. They also need your help, and you're in a pretty good position to be able to assist them. All of your advertisers should hopefully do trust you. They are certainly far more accessible to you than they are to just any other web design firm that might come into town or pop up, and they will usually listen to your advice. And the nice thing about websites is that it's easy to commit to. People don't change their websites a whole lot, number one, And number two, the cost associated with it is relatively low, so it's not something that's going to be a barrier to entry, kind of like sometimes advertising in print might be, worrying about that return on investment. Traditionally, website design for small businesses, and I just want to make sure, Bob, can you confirm that my screen is changing with you?
Yeah, you're in good shape, bud.
Okay. Um, Traditionally, website design for small businesses has been costly. It takes a lot of time. It requires special skills or special knowledge, can be difficult to profit from because of that, and requires you to be a webmaster, done by a web designer who's nowhere to be found in 6 months, like I mentioned before. When you're a webmaster, when you're the person who is fielding phone calls and emails from someone who wants to change one sentence or one paragraph or one letter, that's a very difficult business to be profitable in. And that's been the traditional way because of the fact that editing websites has been so difficult for the typical small business owner. So being profitable in website design means you need a system that is, very easy to build and edit sites with. You can be very efficient with. Allow your clients to edit it themselves so you don't become a webmaster. Is affordable, and being able to provide a solution that is always 100% up to date and easy to maintain. You will certainly, of course, have to be available to answer the occasional phone call and email when they come in, but certainly you shouldn't be someone who's waiting on every single email and phone call to make changes for everybody. You want to give the keys to the site to the business owner. Every business owner wants essentially three things when it comes to a website. They want it to look really good. They want it to be found in search engines, so when people type their name in or type the type of business that they're in into Google or Bing, they come up. And they also want something that they can update themselves. And a quick aside, when this goes back just before we had gotten really serious about launching SitesOne, and I sat down with our accountant to go over whatever that was, the quarterly numbers that you have to just give away a large percentage of what you earn to the government. When he was breaking the news to me, I walked in there complaining because that morning I had to spend $3,000 to get a new electrical panel installed, replaced in my basement. So I walk in there complaining to the guy, and he's in his mid-60s, and he goes, yeah. He's like, I read that on Facebook this morning. I saw you post it. I said, John. I said, and this guy also owns the pizzeria next door. His license plate on his car is Pizza CPA. And I said, John, I said, I don't understand. We have your pizzeria website. I beg you to make changes to your coupons instead of calling me every other week to do it for you. You refuse to do that, but you're hanging out on Facebook? I'm like, well, what gives? And he says to me, he's like, well, Justin, if editing my site was as easy as logging into Facebook, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. So that's when one of the light bulbs went off, and we had to figure out a way to make sure that a small business owner owning a website can make changes to it as quickly and simply and easily as they can a Facebook page. And that's probably why you may have noticed that some of your clients have Facebook pages for their business but don't have websites, or don't have a very good website, or update their Facebook page a lot more often than they do their website. And that's because it's just a lot easier. Traditionally, this is what I'm just going to skip ahead here because I want to show you what it looked like. Traditionally, building websites out, you would probably have to use a program like Dreamweaver, and this is what you would see.
This is what scares people to death about building websites, right?
Exactly. This is an interface that even if you are comfortable using a program like this, it could still take you a while to mine through all this stuff and fight off the headaches that are sure to follow. So over time, you've probably heard of systems like WordPress. WordPress is called a content management system. It's open source, which means anyone can download it for free and install it on a web hosting platform, and allow you to basically build a site with a lot of functionality. The problem, though, is that I've presented a WordPress site to a small business client before, several, and I've just watched their eyes roll back to the back of their head, because as you know, many of us are in front of design a lot, many of us are in front of computers a lot, and this may not look like, you know, a very daunting interface, but when you put it in front of the bakery owner who doesn't even have a computer in the shop, this is very, very intimidating. So that's why we developed a content management system that looks exactly like this. This is how business owners add, edit, remove content from their site. And we're going to go over exactly what that looks like in action with a short video. So bear with me 1 second while I change over here.
This is going to be exciting. And I know there are people on this thing right now who are going to be astounded that we're running a video on one of these presentations. But I'll give you a heads up, because in rehearsal we found that some of you may need to jack up your volume a little bit to pick this up. So, we've been pretty successful with it. And by the way, if you're having difficulty hearing this, shoot your hand, give me a hand raise there, so I know what we're dealing with, and we can help Justin along there.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and I'll see you in 3 minutes.
Hello, and welcome to SiteSwan. In this video, we are going to review exactly how quick and easy it is to create a new site on the SiteSwan platform. So first thing we're going to do is get into the new site screen, where we type in the business name, subdomain, click a time zone, and click Save. Now we have a URL that we can click on and start designing with. I'm going to click the Design tab and click Use Full Header Image, and I'm going to find the header image that we created a little bit earlier and upload that. You'll notice it populates the site in real time. For the background, same thing. Choose a background image that we selected earlier, click on Upload, and now that populates in the background. For the color palette, I'm going to choose a blue for the navigation bar, something like that. I'm going to get a sidebar background color of a deeper blue. And I'm going to choose sidebar heading color of a lighter blue. And now, technically, our design is done. The right sidebar needs to be edited, so I'm going to copy and paste in some about text that we typed up earlier. In this area, I'm going to put in the address. Click Show Map, and this will immediately show on Google Maps where this location is. I'm going to select the hours of operation. Let's just say it's 8 to 5. Copy that down. Choose the methods of payment that are accepted in this location. I'm going to go into the Connect screen and type in a Twitter account. And that icon will populate on the right side. And then for keywords, I'm going to choose some keywords we selected earlier, copy, and paste those into that box. Now when I click Save Changes, the right sidebar is completely designed. All I have to do is add some copy to the left side. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a welcome block of text. It's going to be 2 paragraphs that we've written earlier. And I'm going to paste that in here and give it a name. Once I click Post, whatever I just typed in goes live on the site immediately. The second thing is image. I'm going to choose a photo of Dr. Bello, click on Open, and click on Upload. And now this image will get added to the site. So I just select the photo, give it a title, and we're going to give it a description. Again, text that we wrote earlier, and click Post. And now this image is on the site. The third thing I want to show you is the slideshow. And this is, we're going to pick a few new photos and add that to the site. Just some photos of the facility. And we're going to work this into a slideshow that is going to rotate every 4 seconds. So here they are. I'm going to select the 3 photos, click OK, and now I'm going to click Post. So now our site is pretty much created. And when I click on Preview Site on the top, this is how the site looks. And we just created a gorgeous site in under 3 minutes.
All right, I'm back.
Not one hand went up. Everybody heard that.
Excellent. Perfect. All right, let me get this out of the way. All right,
okay.
so
what you basically did, buddy, was take that train wreck of a user interface that we saw with the traditional web design, and you almost did what they did with the Macintosh, which made it accessible to everyone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you'll notice too, like when those posts were being made, a text post, an image post, there were no options for text, font size, font color, if I should have the image left justified or right justified or anything like that. And we thank Facebook for kind of paving the way for that. That's one of the reasons why Facebook kind of reigned supreme over MySpace, was that people were getting headaches looking at people's MySpace pages. If you give a business owner the opportunity to change the color of every letter of every word, they're going to, okay? So by stripping out those types of features, not only are we making the interface far easier for them to digest, it's also something that's going to prevent their site from looking ugly. We absolutely are eliminating the possibility of ugly sites being built on SiteSwan. And
hey, Justin, but by the way, if I can interrupt for just a second, I've got a couple of questions coming in, but I do want to remind everyone that if you have a question or need something readdressed or just want to say hi, use that dashboard on the right-hand side of your screen and type that in there, and we'll try to get your situation handled. Sorry, hated to interrupt there, buddy, but go right ahead.
That's all right, no problem. So I figured the next thing we should do is just look at some sites that have been built on SiteSwan and see, number one, how they could differ so much when there are just very few things that are required as far as the design aspect of it. And two, we'll also see, to prove to you that, they're all really good-looking sites. Now, the cool thing about SiteSwan is that you actually are the ones who are going to be designing the sites. There's only 3 elements that change the sites from one another. And as we go through these screenshots, you might pick up on it. And by the way, every site that's built on the SiteSwan platform automatically has a mobile version of the site created. So that means when people hit it from their smartphones, they're going to see a special version of the site specifically tailored for their size screen.
That's really become important too, because you keep hearing people talking about the fact that trying to use the same site on both ends of the spectrum just doesn't work. And
exactly.
this is a terrific thing. One thing I also want to warn people about, because it's getting so close to lunch, between Rob Durso's family's place here and another pizza place in here, by the time this is over with, you're going to be hungry.
Excuse me. Okay, so this is an Italian specialty food store, recently featured on the Food Network. They specialize in making homemade fresh pasta, ravioli, and homemade sauces. This next one is a pizzeria and Italian restaurant known for their sesame seed edge pizza. This next slide is for the CPA that I mentioned earlier.
He doesn't look like a Facebook guy.
No. He specializes in accounting services, tax service, and bookkeeping services. This is for a swim instructor who does private lessons and group lessons for toddlers and small children. This is for a nonprofit for folks with developmental disabilities in Southwest Minnesota. And this is the site that was previewed in the video. Total Performance Physical Therapy, physical therapist on Long Island. So you're going to notice that between these different sites, they all look very different from one another. But we are in the design business, so we can kind of pick up on some of the similarities. And what you're probably noticing at this point is that they all have the same generic layout, the sites. They all have this, what we call the sidebar reference panel. This is basically about 40% of the width of the site that is always going to be there no matter what page of the site you're on. 3 reasons for that. Number one, that's really good for search engine optimization. Having that type of content on every page of the site is one of the better things you could do for making sure the site comes up high in search results. Number two, it makes life really easy for designing the site. There's only so much you could say about a swim instructor. And if I was tasked with making this paragraph extend the entire width of the site, it's probably going to look a little silly. So for most small businesses, it makes life really easy for editing it. And number three, a little known fact not a lot of people realize is that over 50% of people who visit a small business website are visiting that site for the very first time. So that means we need what we call the business vitals to appear to have very easy access to it, and that's the about information, the contact information, phone number, fax number, email, map, hours of operation, payment accepted, a contact form, photos, social network connections, and keywords. That's the stuff that first-time visitors are going to want the most.
That makes a lot of sense, and it wasn't something that we really touched on in rehearsal. But the fact is that you've got the fundamentals down, and you're not going to be you're not going to be tempted by some customer's thing that let me do something weird with this or something weird with that, because you've got the fundamentals down. You know what works, and that's what you stick with. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. The interesting part about this is that what we discovered is that there actually is a science to developing a small business website. And we thank technology for affording us the ability to break it down to a science. But there really is, and that's why we say you can build websites on SiteSwan for approximately 95% of small businesses. We're talking about the interior designers. We're talking about the salons, the barbers, the dentists, the doctors, all your professional services. Tailors, dance schools, sign companies, plumbers, electricians, you name it. If it's a small business with a storefront or who serves, everyday people, whether it's out of their home or with a storefront, this is a solution that's going to work for them. And the cool thing about this is that you can set your own prices. So whatever you want to sell the site for, you can sell it for. We have a suggested retail price of $399 for the site design and launch, and then $50 a month thereafter. The $50 a month includes hosting of the site, up to 10 email addresses at whatever domain name the site has, a mobile version of the site, 24/7 in-depth statistics, the administrative capabilities to edit any aspect of the site 24/7, your work behind the scenes, which is really our work behind the scenes, doing search engine optimization and making sure that their site is always compatible with the latest browsers, the latest operating systems, the latest mobile phones, and everything. What some of you may not realize is that there is a constant cat and mouse game that's being played. Google and Bing are consistently changing their algorithms by which they determine which sites should come up first for search results. So we are tasked, and we always have been, with figuring out, okay, well, which direction are they moving in? Let's make sure that we can either beat them to the spot or be there when they do make that change. So we are perpetually moving the code around, updating the sites in the background to ensure that all SiteSwan sites are all-star performers in search results. And also included in what we suggest of $50 a month are the periodic phone calls. These are consultative phone calls that we recommend you have with the client, whether it's every 3 months or every 6 months. And you sit down with them and discuss, you could say, hey, let's look at your top 5 pages. What are your top 5 pages on your site? And you might get into a discussion about how a pizzeria might want to focus more on the catering aspect of their business rather than the home delivery business that they have on Friday nights. So that's where you might recommend where, instead of catering being the very last thing on the navigation bar, why don't we make that, second? And why don't we put an image on the home page that links to the catering page that, better describes the different packages you have. So it's those types of consultative conversations we recommend you have on a regular basis, which is something that, some people say to me, oh, well, I can get hosting at GoDaddy for $10 a month. That's fantastic. But you're not going to get, first of all, any of the other components here, or the consultative approach that you get from a publisher who knows your neighborhood, knows your business, knows your customers, and everything else. You are certainly not going to be able to get that kind of service over the phone with someone at, a random web hosting company. Also, $3.99. Why that number? First of all, that is a number that's practically untouchable by any other website design company. This will ensure that you're coming in the absolute lowest, and it'll be a no-brainer decision for the buyer. Unless they're getting their, website designed in Pakistan or India, it's possible it can come in under $1,000, maybe under $900. But to be made in the U.S. by locals who can, design the site professionally, that's a really, really difficult number to even come close to. So we recommend that once you have the potential client targeted, you build them out a demo. And a demo is basically what I showed you in the video, and that's where you put together a header design, a background design, choose some colors, put in some dummy text, and you present it to them, either on an iPad, on a laptop, or via email. And I'm going to tell you a quick story about some of the success that we had when we first launched SiteSwan back in November. When we first launched it, we were committed to getting ourselves in the shoes of the publishers to prove that this is a business model that can work. So what we did was we hired a kid for $10 an hour, and we sat him in front of a computer and gave him links to a bunch of Chamber of Commerce websites and said, I want you to go and email all the business owners with an email that said something along the lines of, we have some ideas on a new website design for your business. Would you be interested in seeing them? And including pricing information, stuff like that. And every time we got a yes, which turned out to be over 50 times in about 5 or 6 weeks, we quickly sent it over to our designers, and we did a little demo, and we emailed it back to them. Once it was emailed back to them, it was a very quick process of them loving it and signing them up. Of those 50-something people who said yes to seeing a demo, only 5 people ultimately said no. So it was a very high conversion rate. It was a very fast sales process, and it was something that it's something that I still recommend to publishers to this day to take on an approach like that because it worked very well. So if you could show them the benefits, once you get it approved, you put the site live. And the nice thing is that you don't need any technical knowledge to put a site live on SiteSwan. You don't need technical knowledge to build it. You don't need technical knowledge to put it live. You don't need technical knowledge to maintain it. So that's one of the reasons why we call this a solution specifically built for publishers. We know that publishers don't have, an infrastructure with IT people a lot of the time to be able to manage something like this.
Justin, can I interject something here for a second?
Yeah.
Just something for our listeners, long-suffering listeners out there who are sales managers. How big a headache is account retention? One of the bane of our existence is that traditional merchant that has a tendency to hopscotch around, try this media for a while, then another one. It's advertising suicide, but they can continue to want to do it. They don't allow themselves to build consistency with an audience. But when you have people in a program like this, you're there. Once you're their go-to guy on their online on their website, you're there. You become part of the furniture, and that account retention problem goes away because you've got them in there with that. And I think that's just a godsend from the standpoint of the people I talk to who are sales managers. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, because you know what? Print advertising, obviously there's more dollars in print advertising being discussed than there is in website development. if they're advertising with you in print, chances are they're spending a lot more than $50 a month with you, which is a good thing, of course. However, the drawback to that type of relationship is the fact that you have to have a lot of FaceTime with them. You have to reach out to them an awful lot for them to, for you to feel comfortable that they're not going to start considering someone else to do business with. Like you said, the furniture example, that's good, because when people sign on for a website, it becomes something they don't think about. It becomes something that goes in their credit card every month for $50, and it's just one of those expenses, like your phone and like your taxes and like your internet and like your everything else. So it kind of just fits into it. And
but when you have the opportunity to make those periodic calls, you can make more touches that are more relevant and meaningful to the customer, and then you can sell more print off of that. Anybody who doesn't think they can't sell more print off of that isn't thinking it through.
Exactly. And you know what I've heard some people doing is I've heard some publishers packaging in a print ad announcement of a new website launch into the initial cost of the site. So instead of $3.99, maybe it's $8.99 or whatever the magic number is, which also includes a print ad announcing the fact they have a new website now. And the other thing that I've heard as well is publishers putting in a website directory in their publication that gets printed every week or every month whenever the publication goes out. And being in that directory is free to anyone, or it's included in the $50 a month. If other people want to get in on it, that's fine. It'll cost them $40 a month. But you could say, well, why wouldn't you just want a website with us? And then, you can have the whole deal. So those are two interesting things that I've heard publishers say recently, and I wanted to share that because I think they're both really good techniques.
Yep.
This is a profit chart. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. It's on our website. You could check it out. Basically what it is, it's a conservative projection that if you sold sites for 12 months, you'd average between 2 and 3 per month, and there is a substantial amount of profit-rich revenue that comes from that. And at this point, I'll open it up for questions. My contact information is here if you're shy right now, but I'd be happy to accept any questions at this point.
Okay, we've got a couple here, and there's still time if you want to get some in here. We do have some questions, and this one's kind of predictable. I think the over/under on this was, would someone ask this before the first 5 minutes were up? And just to shorten it is, will this cannibalize my print sales?
I get asked that question all the time, and the straight up answer is no. If anything, it's going to help your print sales for the reasons that we just mentioned. And also, these are two very different animals. People are still going to have a website no matter where they advertise, who they advertise with. And it's almost kind of like, if someone is not going to advertise with you in print anymore, it's not because of their website. There's definitely another reason there. So the good thing, though, is that you can still claim them as a client should they ever make the idiotic decision of no longer advertising with you in print. And that's always nice, to be able to still call someone a client even after you've parted ways in one aspect.
Well, this is just another tool in the toolbox that you can use to help your customers be successful, just as we were talking about before. But the fact is, the people who want to eat your print sales are already on the salad course. That's going to happen anyway. But this is another tool that you can use to continue to be relevant to your customer.
That's right.
Okay, now got another one here. Somebody's calling you out, buddy. At some point, you must have made the statement that this application was built for print publishers. What does that mean?
Oh, well, built for print publishers means that, we've been working with publishers for over 7 years now. We have a pretty good understanding as far as the capabilities of a typical community publisher. And we wanted to make sure that we were delivering a product that speaks to their needs. Obviously, this is a solution that's targeted at the mom and pop businesses, the small businesses of America, which we know who many of you have a lot of clients that fall into that category. Number two, this is something that is easy for anyone in your staff to pick up. All you need is a graphics person, which you already have, and a salesperson, which you already have. So you've got the two major components that are required to sell websites. The third would be a reputation and a phone number and someone they can get in touch with when they need to, which is a big, big problem, and that's that, people don't want to, invest in a website with someone who they don't know much about. The fact that many of you have a very long-standing history and a lot of trust in your community, that certainly it would be a very wise decision to do business with you as opposed to just some fly-by-night company. Another thing I want to point out, which I don't think we looked at when we were prepping this, Bob, but one of the things I want to point out is this is a website that's built on SiteSwan for a California Avocado Festival. And this was built by a publisher in California. The cool thing about SiteSwan is that everything is completely white labeled for you. So this becomes your system for building websites on. So much so that when you're logged in as a business owner, you see the publisher logo in the top left. Okay, this is something that's going to be consistent. Not only that, but if I go to a site that hasn't even launched yet, okay, you're going to notice that there is no mention of SiteSwan anywhere. This is a site that has not been launched yet, but it's living on a URL that is not SiteSwan. It's the publisher's URL. So it's these types of things that we've made sure we've done that we can really call this a solution specifically designed for publishers.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Does your CMS support other languages, specifically Spanish?
Good question. Actually, we are in the process of having multilingual support, and the first language that we are going to be supporting is Spanish, and that's probably going to be in the next 30 to 45 days. We are going to have multi-language support, specifically Spanish. Good question.
Okay. Okay. Google is in my area giving businesses free websites. Why should they do this instead?
Good. Google is offering free websites through Intuit. Intuit are the makers of QuickBooks, and it's free for the first year, and then they do charge after the first year. Why would you want to sell against them is a great question. It's the same reason why you want to be prepared. If we don't start getting serious about owning other aspects of the marketing efforts that small business owners are interested in, then it's going to quickly dry up. Craigslist obviously did a lot of damage with the classified industry. Google is doing a lot of damage by pulling people to internet advertising, and them pitching websites is just one other thing that they could potentially be, pulling out from under you and giving you no chance at succeeding with. The free website solution that they're offering is a do-it-yourself kind of thing. You have to build the site yourself as a business owner, and 9 times out of 10, that is going to be a pretty awful site that comes as a product of that. But the good thing about every SiteSwan site is that it's compatible with all your social networks, with your Google Places, with your listings, with your Facebooks and Twitter and stuff like that. We've all built it right into the system. So it won't prevent anyone from working with Google. It won't prevent anyone from having, Facebook pages. If and when the day comes that Facebook pages start to charge you, it won't prevent people from working with that. So it does tie everything all together.
Yeah, I think the question really here is, okay, how do you compete with Google and even some of the publishers that I see on here today, even with all their money, they really can't compete financially with Google. However, we have some things that we bring to the table that they can't even begin to touch. And the first one you mentioned before was trust. We've
Yeah,
already built these relationships. So then, to me, the selling question becomes, okay, what would you rather have? This site, if all things being equal, and they're not, this site free for a year, and then you pay an undetermined amount for it later, or this program that I'm giving you now that you can see in front of you, run by someone who's right here, not someone, as you said before, in Pakistan or India or wherever they are. And you can certainly put some doubt in some folks' mind with that question. But the point is, the people who are going to be maintaining your website are people that you talk to and see on the street every day. And there's
right.
got to be some value in that.
You're absolutely right. Yep.
Okay. This site does not take online sales with CC, I guess, credit card. Okay. I don't know. I guess the question is, do the sites that you build have that e-commerce thing in it?
Good question. E-commerce is not actually a part of the SiteSwan system. It's not one of your options for adding content to the site, and that's because e-commerce has been mastered, has been perfected by at least a dozen or a dozen and a half vendors on the internet, many of whom are providing their services for free, and they're actually pretty good. So we weren't interested in reinventing the wheel, especially because we've made accommodations where any SiteSwan site can be hooked up to any online web store. I can show you an example really quickly of how someone has done that. There is a website that one of our clients has built for a surf shop, and one of the pages on their site is Shop Online. Let me just log out. This way it looks more normal to you. One of their pages on their site is Shop Online, and when I hit the Shop Online link, I have a button that takes me over to the web store. Now, this is hosted by freewebstore.org. It's one of many, 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 many online solutions to sell clothing, accessories, whatever it is you want to sell online. Now, another reason why we didn't bother building it into the system is because if you are going to get into doing e-commerce, first of all, as a small business owner, you have to understand it's almost like opening up a second location. There are a lot of logistical considerations that you have to consider that might even turn you away from doing e-commerce altogether. But that aside, if you're going to be doing e-commerce, chances are you want a lot more people to find out about your items for sale than just the people who are visiting your website. So that's why we recommend that based on the type of product that you're looking to sell, maybe you're going to sell it on a site like Etsy, okay? Etsy is a great e-commerce site anyone can sell stuff on. It's usually designed for one-off stuff, a lot of the things that many small business owners are interested in selling. Or we recommend you sell your stuff on Amazon.com. Anyone can sell stuff on Amazon.com. Anyone can sell stuff using Google Checkout, using using the Yahoo Marketplace. There are a lot of options that are more global to get more global exposure than just having, items for sale on your website. So while there is not necessarily an option built into SiteSwan, any SiteSwan site can be the host, the destination for selling things online.
Okay, Bill, I hope that answers your question. If I interpret it incorrectly, let me know, and I'll try to get you the information that you need. That's a real good question. Okay, now here comes a really good question, because Justin and I have been talking about this, and I think this is a really good question because this lady appears to agree with me. The idea of the system seems to be to make it easy for the advertiser to make changes and maintain his own site. Our experience with online has been that when we put these tools in the hands of our clients, they don't use them. Nothing happens with their directory pages or whatever the self-directed programs might be. They just go silent. Now, actually, that's not a question; it's a statement. But let me play Alex Trebek here and put it in the form of a question. Because I think she's had some bad experience with handing the keys over to the customer and then seeing a promising online project that lose momentum when the customer gets distracted.
Right.
Justin, on projects like this, especially in the beginning, aren't we better off if we take responsibility for keeping the content of the sites fresh?
Yes and no. I mean, the one thing that you're going to immediately notice is that people are going to log into their Sites One websites a lot more often, make a lot more changes than they will to any directory system out there. I don't care what directory you're using. I don't care what marketplace app you're using, whatever it is. I guarantee you that the interface and even just the logging in process is going to be tons easier on SiteSwan than it will be anywhere else. So you will immediately notice that people do edit their SiteSwan sites far more than anything else. The second point to that is well, yeah, I mean, we do have some clients who do play webmaster. Dan Buendo was one of the people who I feel kind of originated the concept of selling blocks of time. As you guys know, Dan Buendo has a very respectable business that he's built up of digital media, digital advertising, and one of the things he does is he sells a certain number of hours of his expert's time to the client that they bank and then pull from on an as-needed basis. So we do have publishers adopting a system like that. We have publishers adopting a pricing plan that's more than $50 a month for those customers who insist that they don't have to touch a keyboard or a mouse in order to make changes to their website. But the reality is that people do edit their sites far more. And the good thing about it is even if they don't, they are still going to continue to do business with you. It's really the reality. Even if they're not the best at updating their stuff, they can more easily justify continuing to invest in their website that they own with their name than just a directory or a marketplace or something like that, which is actually a part of your website or some third-party website.
Got it. And basically what we're looking at here is a situation that if you're going to take responsibility, if you choose to take responsibility for the customer and you're going to make those changes yourself, why not do it with something that's easy instead of that train wreck we saw at the beginning of the presentation?
Right, exactly. And the cool thing about SiteSwan Sites is that as a publisher, when you log into one of your client sites, you are immediately logged into all of your client sites. So if you did run into the scenario where you're fielding emails and phone calls from clients, you could make edits to 10 sites in 5 minutes. So it's a really, really, really fast and easy interface.
Okay, Justin, we're getting to the end of our allotted time here, and wanted to thank you for everything that you've offered the folks. If you folks have any other questions, you've got Justin's contact information. But did you have anything that you wanted to add in closing there, Justin?
Not really. I mean, actually, one thing I would add is that I actually wanted to take an opportunity to thank Mark, Dan, and you, Bob, for making this a very for helping me kind of tailor this to making it a very easily understandable session. And I do appreciate all of your guys' help in putting this together and your cooperation in making time for me. So I appreciate that.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and the folks who are listening to this have no idea how much fun it really was over the last couple of days.
That's true.
With that spirit in mind, let's take a look at what's coming up. Okay, we've been talking about nailing down digital dollars, and any of you who were in our first 2020 session to hear Mark Helmer and Dan Buendo discuss the agency function of their business saw that they were way ahead of the curve. In August, Dan Buendo returns to drill deeper into how his company exploits Facebook to help its customers. It's a lot safer way to make money with Facebook than trying to buy their stock. And he'll tell you about that in August. Now, believe it or not, in September, 2020 will be preempted. Apparently, someone thought it would be more fun to go to New Orleans than sit through one of these webinars. Imagine that. But September 20 through 23, IFPA and SAPA in the Big Easy, New Orleans, and all that that implies. There's no better time than right now to start locking in an airfare for that one, because we think we're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to get an opportunity to come firsthand with the folks you've been talking to on 2020, and you can ask them questions there. But in the meantime, this is Bob Munn speaking for Justin Gerena and the entire IFPA Board of Directors saying the future doesn't begin tomorrow. It's starting right now, this instant, with what you plan to do with the ideas you saw today. There's still plenty of time today to help your customers make some money, and you're just the folks to do it. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks for stopping in.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye. Goodbye.